Okay, today we're going to be looking at a program called Specimen that was brought to my attention by a viewer. His name is M4KX, and the program is called Specimen, and it's for creating instruments out of sound samples. Now, I had done this in the past, and basically I would make sound font files. If you guys aren't familiar with what sound font files are, basically they're files that you can connect a MIDI output into, and you can use actual recorded samples when you play on a MIDI keyboard or from a MIDI device. Similar to what you do in a program like LMMS, where you can import an instrument, a sound sample, and then have it basically manipulate it for various keys. But in a program like LMMS, you're somewhat limited to how you can control that, because you bring in one sound sample and set it to, let's say, the middle C key. Well, the further away you get from that in either direction, the more and more off it's going to be, a little more distorted it's going to be. Luckily, with sound font files, you can make each key a different sound sample if you want, or you can have it bend the pitch to be whatever note you need, and so forth and so on. Problem was, I was using a program in the past called Swami, previously known as Smurf, which I believe is pretty much a dead project, and last I checked, it isn't even in the repositories for Ubuntu or Mint, since Mint uses Ubuntu as repositories. I do believe it's still available, last I checked, in the Debian repositories. But it was also a very awkward program to play with. I almost did some tutorials on you guys, but then it was pretty much a dead project, so I stopped. Well, this Specimen program gives you pretty much the same amount of control as Swami did. So now that I'm done talking, let's start looking at it. But first thing we need is a sample of some sort of instrument. And I am just going to use my voice, since that's what I have available to me right now. But you could record a note from a guitar, a piano. I've recorded notes in the past of my wife playing different notes on her trombone. So anyway, I'm just going to open up a voice recorder here. And I'm going to set it to wave, lossless wave in this case, just to get a decent quality, even though I'm just going to use my microphone on my laptop here. Anyway, I'm going to press record and see what we get. La. Okay, so I stop that and I will save it. And I'm just going to save it to my temp folder. I'll just call it La and save it. I just want to trim that real quick. Now, there are some trimming capabilities in Specimen, which I'll get into in the future, but I've only played with them a little bit. I'm going to use a program that I've been wanting to show you guys anyway. It's called MH Wave Editor, or Wave Edit. And this is a very nice program for editing waves, and it works well with jack running. There are other wave editing software out there, but some of them are glitchy when you have jack running. So anyway, I'm going to open up. Looks like I already recorded a bass wave a while ago. I don't remember doing that. Oh, not one. Let's open up the proper file here. Temp La. So there's the sound of me saying La. Let me make sure that this is connected up properly here in Patchage so that you guys will hear it as well, since I'm recording with Pulse Audio. Gotta make sure that's connected to Pulse Audio. And I'll even disconnect it from the sounds so we don't get any feedback through that. So we'll press play. La. Okay. Let's trim that up right like so. La. Very good. And I'm just going to save selection as, so just what I have selected here. And I'll save that in my temp folder too. I'll call it La2.wave. Very good. So we've got our sound sample. Now to bring it into Specimen. So let's open up Specimen, which is in the repositories. So just use your package manager to install it. Once again, let me make sure I have everything hooked up here properly. Connect this to here so you guys can hear it as well. Okay. And here we go. This is the basic interface for Specimen. Very simple, but has a lot of features that are very useful in here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to add a patch. I'm going to call it something. I'll call it La. And here I'll load a sample, and I'll go to where I had my voice recorded. La 2, which is the trimmed one. We can preview it, which just sounds horrible, but we're going to use it anyway. Load and OK, and there you can see that sound sample there. Now I can, as you can see down here, we have a yellow over the center C here. So if you were to record a note, you would want to record a C note if you're going to put it here, and I can press this on the keyboard here. But if it was a different key, let's say you recorded on an actual piano a G key, you come over here and center click, which is clicking on the scroll, clicking down the scroller on your mouse. You can move that yellow note. So now, I don't know what note I sang, so it doesn't really matter in this case. But basically that yellow square is the original recording. Okay? And also notice if I just tap it, it plays out the whole resound sample, which you may want. More likely, I usually use trim, which will play it for as long as I'm holding it. So you can see if I click it real quick, it only plays while I'm holding it down. Now you can also play with other settings here, and I'm not going to get into a lot of them today, but I'm going to go over one that I usually use with basic instruments, which is coming over here to the envelope, enabling that. And I've done tutorials on sustain, release, hold, decay, attack, and delay, and the amount that's affected in LMS. But basically, I'm going to turn up the release here. What this is going to do, and with the sustain all the way up, is that when I hold it down, if I let go, you can see it fades out. So that's more of like an actual piano. You might be holding down the pedal a little bit, so it's like a sustain pedal. The sustain is the amount that it's held here. Release is basically how long it's held. It's held after you release. I hope I'm explaining that well. So anyway, so you can see it kind of fades out. And there are a lot of other options in here I might get into in future tutorials. I'm just showing you the basics of this program today. That's great, but notice none of these other keys do anything. Well, that's because you can set a range. Right now we only have this key set by clicking on the center key, button on our mouse. Well, if I want to go affect the keys all the way up to here, I can left click here, and I'm sorry, right click there and left click here. Basically, left click would be setting the lower end of your scale, and right clicking would be setting the upper end. So, and you can set it for pretty much all your octaves here, like so. And obviously, when it's very high pitch, it's a little glitch, but we can go down real low, like here. So low, can't even really hear it. Let's try here. There we go. So now at this point, if you had a MIDI keyboard or just a MIDI file you wanted to play, you can hook it up to Specimen and use that sound sample. Now, I'm working on my laptop today because my video card on my desktop took a crap on me yesterday. So I don't have my regular MIDI Oxygen keyboard hooked up. So I'm just going to open up a virtual keyboard, which is in your repositories. I've gone over this in tutorials in the past. Let's look in Patchage here, and we'll just take that virtual keyboard and connect it to Specimen. So this would be the equivalent of hooking up a physical keyboard or another MIDI program into the MIDI input of Specimen. And a virtual keyboard, there we go. And on my QWERTY keyboard, when I have the virtual keyboard selected, I should be able to play some stuff. So now you also notice that obviously higher the pitch, it's also changing the length of the recording. Now there are stuff you can do as far as setting a loop point within the sample. I'm not getting into that today, but if you're not going to be setting loop points, you may want to record an extra long note. So if you're going to record an actual note off a piano, which I'll do in future tutorials, you're probably going to want to hold it for pretty much as long as you can. Hold down that sustain pedal, in my opinion. That's all depending on what effect you want to get with this instrument. So anyway, you can adjust the volume of instruments. You can add multiple instruments and set different keys. You can set each key to be a different instrument. This is all stuff we're going to get into in the future, but I just wanted to give you a quick, simple tutorial on this today, and can't get into too much. Once again, my desktop that I normally record video tutorials on isn't quite up and running right now, but I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please visit filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. There'll be a link in the description. There's also going to be, if I remember to, I'm going to save this bank so I can save this project, and I'll try to upload that to that post if I remember. So you can save all these settings, obviously, and open them up later. So once you create something, you can use it over and over again. Let's call it law, and okay. And once again, we're going to be playing with Specimen more, as well as some other MIDI stuff here in the near future. So if you're one of those people, I use ZY and Ed sub effect a lot, but if you want to use sound samples, which can give your music a more realistic feeling in some cases, depending on what you use as instruments, Specimen is a great option. And I thank you very much once again, viewer M4KX, for bringing it to my attention, because I've been kind of missing these capabilities since I no longer was creating my own sound fonts. And also, check out our Facebook page. There's a link to the description in that. Google Plus is up now. I don't know if they have any fan page stuff yet, but hopefully someday I'll have a Google Plus fan page of sorts. And I just thank you for watching and hope that you have a great day.